What was the most surprising or shocking piece of news that you came across when you did this research?
Well, it didn't surprise me because of the some 37 years of research that I've been engaged in studying, analyzing the instrumentalities of power and different elite groupings internationally around the world. But the most alarming thing I found about the research into GMO was the idea that this is an entirely political agenda being pushed with no regard to independent government testing, security, the health and welfare of the population. First on the American population and Argentina, and then later on the population of countries such as Iraq or developing countries in Africa which have little or no choice, or in India. And that this is locking, first of all, it's an instrumentality to destroy indigenous natural agriculture, which is essential to the health and well-being of populations of the world. But it's a way to lock them into a new kind of servitude or serfdom. The farmers then become dependent on international seed giants like Monsanto every year to buy their seeds. And now, since 2.5 years, Monsanto holds, together with the US government, the world exclusive patent on terminator seed technology. These are seeds that automatically commit suicide after one harvest, so that farmers must go back to Monsanto and must pay a license fee. Now, Monsanto, it's been documented in the Wall Street Journal elsewhere, Monsanto has a clever marketing tactic. They come into a new market and undercut the existing seed companies with their GMO seeds, and then lock the farmers into licensing agreements with Monsanto. And then once the farmers become dependent and their fields are contaminated with GMO seeds through wind propagation and other, and the nearby fields, then Monsanto raises the price of their seeds, and the farmers have no choice but to continue with Monsanto. So it's a alarming form of control of the human food chain, and that alone, even if they had the healthiest effects and the crop yields were higher, which they're not, and even if it didn't require more fertilizer, which it does, than conventional seeds, I would be vehemently opposed to the spread of patented seeds in genetically manipulated organisms. I think the idea of seeds is that there should be no patenting of life. Vandana Shiva and others have made this point very, very well over the years. There should be simply no legal possibility allowed anywhere in the world for patenting of life, whether it be life in the form of seeds, genetic manipulation of animals, or, God forbid, of human beings. And I think that should be made clear to people how vital this is to keep seeds free for the stock of mankind, the biodiversity.
Well, you know, I've learned most of my political lessons from Gandhi. I learned the lesson of self-reliance from the spinning wheel to the seed from him. I learned the lesson of satyagraha every time the government has tried to bring laws of preventing us from having seeds. We've said, if Gandhi could say no to the British for salt laws, we'll have to say no to you for forcing us to give up our seeds. And I've given hundreds of thousands of signatures to our Prime Minister to say we will just follow Gandhi's footsteps, and you live in Gandhi's land. And you live under his image every time you take pledges. So this is how we're going to live. Even in terms of safety of our seeds, I follow Gandhi. Gandhi believed deeply in decentralization. I do not think there's any safe place for seeds except millions of farms. So many farms that these corporations cannot destroy our freedom, our future, our evolution.
How do you continue, person-wise? How do you continue with this fight? Where do you get the energy from?
Well, as I said, for me, this issue is about the very basis of our existence on this planet. About the very basis of my being part of an amazing universe. And for me, the energy comes from that same universe, just as it recharges everything else. It does not come from the secular world. It does not come from the power of government or the lack of power that government provides. It does not get belittled by the threats of corporations. So it really is, luckily in Indian philosophy we have such deep concepts, Shakti, the word Shakti is energy, but it's also female energy. And it's what keeps this creation going. I keep telling people, I think we are so stupid to think that energy only runs through insulated wires, People think electricity is energy, that's it. No, it's all over. It's all over, and it's particularly in us. It's in us to the extent we stay grounded in the deeper meaning of our role in life and our existence.
Our interest in Iraq really came out of our ongoing interest in the way that that patents are enforced on GM. I personally think it's an outrage that anybody or any corporation should be allowed to patent a living thing that they haven't invented. All they've done is they've introduced a couple of genes of alien genes, created novel proteins, the results of which nobody knows, but as a result of that they can claim that this crop belongs to them, and that is an outrageous abuse, I think, of centuries, millennia of farming traditions where seeds are free to be exchanged and to be used for developing new varieties, etc., etc. So the whole idea of anybody owning a seed or a group of seeds from a particular family and controlling effectively the seed supply is, in my view, totally outrageous. And of course we realized when the Iraq war was going on and when the so-called reconstruction of Iraq was going to happen afterwards, that the Americans were enforcing these regulations. And we were staggered when we looked at Order 81, the one that actually is to do with plant variety protection, where basically the gist of it was that only registered or approved seeds could be traded and used within the new Iraq that was emerging after the war, and that in effect, because the only seeds that were listed were the ones that had been properly characterized or described scientifically. In other words, where the sort of genome of the plant was already recorded and patented. And of course, all over the world there are thousands and thousands of indigenous plant varieties that have been used for centuries, millennia. But of course, nobody's ever got round to describing their genetic makeup, let alone claiming that these plants belong to them. And so the whole idea of free movement of seeds between neighbours or communities, and the free development of better indigenous varieties which are closely adapted to local circumstances, etc. The whole idea that just by someone signing a piece of paper, as Paul Bremer did, seems to me to be a total denial of what human freedom is. And so it's on that basis that we got quite concerned about this and wrote some articles about it, which circulated quite widely among the anti-GM community. And we still feel very, very strongly about that Order 81 has got to be thrown into the rubbish bin. It's a total denial of everything, I think, that we value about the traditional way of conducting agriculture.